Good afternoon.
So my grandfather's name is Moonga. Ends there. And my name is Olly. So Olivano, Olipano, Olina, nothing, just Olly. Just like that. For personally, I'm very grateful that all of you came. There are people that I know and some I don't know, but I'm sure we're going to interact as we get to know each other, right? I'm so grateful that the CEO is here. Okay, just in case you don't believe what I'm going to say, imagine what could I have said to the CEO to make her come here. So just think about that. So in case I don't say anything that might interest you, just know that I'm interesting enough to get the CEO here. Just think about that. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming here. Allow me to predicate my conversation on a very interesting day that I had yesterday. I was the MC for the Africa Science Baskers Festival 2018. So we had a lot of people there. People from Australia, from South Africa, from Zimbabwe, Botswana, Malawi. And I was asked to do the MC. And I was there and people were asking, say, are you going to manage? Because sometimes I don't really look convincing when people ask me to do certain things. Maybe because of how I look, or sometimes because of what they think certain people that are supposed to do certain things look. So I said, let me give it a try. So I went there yesterday. And people were late, and everyone was coming out late, and the people were worried, say, how is the event going to run through? And I was given the mic, and said, can you start? Well, I'm not a scientist, really, scientist. I may be a social scientist, but not a technological scientist. So I started with a conversation that I feel is very relevant and very topical to this conversation that we have here around life doesn't begin at 40. So I told the story of my grandmother, how she taught me science. She could cool water using sand and clay pot. So, I mean, a lot of them didn't know. So I was coming from that area to say, well, I knew about the fridge before I actually saw it. Because literally that was a fridge. Because, I mean, if water was cool, then we drank and, wow, that might as well be a fridge. And I predicated on how I come from a place that if I were to be exaggerative, I would say it's the hottest place in Zambia, Siavunga. But still somehow my grandmother made us drink cool water in a very hot place. The place is so hot that if you left your fridge outside, okay, sure, a lot of people know. But this is also what I like to say. If you've never been to Siavonga, then you've never been to Africa, really. Because if you don't know Siavonga, then which place do you know? So I went about talking about how that I'm an author, how that I do these things and I do that thing. And then I sang a song. I was supposed to MC. I realized there was a crowd. Perhaps they were looking for more than just a speech or MC. So I sang a song. And one man from Australia, David, he says, I just read the words from the song that Esnat sang. And I sang just the first part of it. And David says, I love the lyrics in that song. Oh, because I warned them that I don't know how to sing, but I'll read the words. So I might not have the voice of an angel, but I sure have the words of a human being. So I read the words, and they got the words, so that in case my voice was a little bit shaky and all those things, at least they got the words. And they went on and talking about how these things, who is this guy? Apparently I didn't say I'm a student. I left them to think about who I am. So others think I'm some vibrant young man from one of these big corporations and all those things, but I didn't reveal that I'm a student. I just kept quiet. And there was this very expensive school called Banani International School. And pupils literally came to me and said, can you tell our teacher that we want you to come to our school and motivate us? Well, the teacher was there already, so well, there's nothing more to say. She heard me, so he said, oh, actually, we'll call you on Monday. Monday meaning the day after tomorrow. And we want you to come and just motivate our pupils. And then the headmaster from Matero Boys walked and says, Mr. Moonga, I want you to come to our school and just motivate and energize the young boys and girls. I said, no, I'll be there. And my journey really has been what I describe as the compound of consistency. I'll tell you that life never begins at any later than it is already happening. Right now you are living. I may not be a doctor really, but at least I have a few friends that are doing medicine, and I have friends that are doing, that are actually doctors, medical doctors. They say that when a woman is pregnant, they advise the woman to say, mind what you eat and mind what you drink. And the reason is because they may endanger the life of the baby. So which life? Which baby? The baby in the womb. We have never seen a baby. And this is something that I like to emphasize, and I said this to my mother in a very annoying way. It says, why do we call pregnant women expectant mothers? What are you expecting really? I said, oh, we expect babies. Okay. So when this baby comes out and here's the baby, what do you expect from this baby? And my mother apparently didn't expect anything from me. She expected me to go to school, fail like my grandfather did. To go under difficult stuff like my uncles and aunties are, and then for her she was okay. Because she said, I mean, your grandfather was like this, so it's fine. Your uncle was like this, it's fine. And one day I rudely said, I am not my grandfather, neither am I my uncle. And I'm not here to break record anyway, because my mother only went up to grade 4. And for her that was school. So I wasn't there to break a record, because otherwise I would have ended school when I was in grade 5. I would have broken the record. But I said, I want to set a pace in this family. And sometimes I said, telling her certain things, she would literally laugh and say, you like dreaming a lot. So I didn't start speaking now. So just in case you're not convinced, I first convinced my mother that I could go to the University of Zambia. Even when she didn't know to say 7 points meant what. But she believed that perhaps, because you've been saying this thing for a very long time, maybe. I was the highest at school when grade 12 at Chikankata. And, people were excited for me more than my mother was excited for me. Because according to her, 7 points, 8 points, 12 points, it doesn't really make sense. So, of course, I had to explain to her, if someone gets 7 points, this is what it means, and put that excitement into her. I said, oh, okay. Really, but after I left, she soon forgot what I said. But ultimately, she still has this thing of, maybe you're just dreaming. I was highest in grade 7. I said, oh, okay, maybe just that. It's just grade 7. Highest at school. Maybe just school. Maybe in Chankata there were no really intelligent guys. I came to me first year, and she thought I was going to go back home. I mean, I've stayed in 4th year now. I said, maybe at Unza also there are no people that are really intelligent. But ultimately, here is the plea, and here is where we like to pitch the conversation around life doesn't begin at 40. I don't know if there's anyone of you that can guarantee me that you're dying tomorrow, or you have 15 years to live, guaranteed, or you have 50 years to live, guaranteed. If you can't guarantee that, then you can't guarantee that you start doing what you are passionate about tomorrow. Because you don't know if tomorrow is coming, do you? No. Jesus himself honestly says, don't even worry about tomorrow. Now I'll explain what that means. He says, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. In effect, what he was saying is, tomorrow may come with or without you. But today is here with you. So what are you going to do in the here and now? And apparently I found out that God doesn't take time in days or years. He takes time in the now. I'm a very staunch born-again believer. So you can't take the words of God out of my mouth. Even if I'm just an MC for a wedding. Even yesterday, a science basker, I was speaking out scriptures and people didn't even know to say, oh, these are scriptures. Because were people who were Muslims, whatever, but they still were there. And they listened to what I say. And this is how I like to unveil it. The Bible says, I have heard you in the time which is right. Now is the appointed day. Other version says, now is the accepted day. Now is the accepted day. It's like, now and day, I thought they just mean the same. If it's now, then it's the day. It's like today. And then I understood something. No. Today is way too big to be generalized to now. But now is a moment. Like right now. Like here, right now. So you don't have the whole day, but you have now at least. Yeah. Sometimes I don't like to sound very scary. But some of you, maybe I might be seeing you for the very last time. Or you might be hearing me for the very last time. Not because I'm dying tomorrow. Or I could be dying tomorrow. But the issue is, we may never meet again. But what about what you have heard today? Like what you're hearing right now? What are you going to do about it? Because the evidence that you heard these things will not be a picture on Facebook that I was there. Tenzeko, life doesn't begin at 40. But the evidence will be if you start working on your dream and your purpose, discovering what you were born for right now. Now is the surest time to predict the future. You don't have tomorrow. I mean, I don't understand how imit ikula empanga. I'm not really Bemba, but I understand that statement means trees only become a forest when they grow big. But when you look at the definition for forest, it doesn't mean big trees. It just says a lot of trees. So whether small or big, they are a forest. And I mean, if we say we are the future leaders, then what signifies the future? Is it the beards? Is it the gray hair? Is it tall, you get muscles and all those things? Is that what says, okay, now we are in the future? Is that what signifies the future? No. And apparently one time during my counseling sessions, I once taught something to a lady that almost made her cry. Born again believer, she was burning on fire, and she says, so she asked me to advise her on relationships. And then I just said once, I said, there's no such a thing as God's time is the best. And whoa, she heard a pastor. Her pastor preached that God's time is the best. And I'm not a pastor. And I'm saying, there's no such a thing as God's time is the best. He says, what do you mean? You know, my papa says O, B, C, D, and all those things. Papa. And I said something very striking. I said, look, if you say God's time is the best, when is God's time? Is it next year? I mean, is it 5 years from now? I mean, who knows God's time? I mean, what is even God's time? Because he doesn't live in time himself. He lives outside time.
Yeah.
And I said, what determines what we become and what God gives us, even relationships, even marriages, is the level of maturity.
Oh, yes.
When you mature, it is done. So in my conversation around life doesn't begin at 40, I say, consciously, life begins when you know what is good and bad. Then you can decide to do that which you have decided to do.
Yes.
But before really you know what is happening and all of that, we can scientifically say life is happening. But in a conscious sense of it all, life begins the day you know what is good and what is bad. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know all of you here, you know what is good and bad. So if you're doing something bad, it's not anyone's fault, it is yours, because you can still decide not to do it. And oftentimes it is emphasized that the most powerful thing and the most dangerous thing that God ever gave to man is the will. Because you can even choose against him and you will not do anything. The Bible says the will of God is that all men should be saved. But I can guarantee you others will go to hell. Even when the will of God is that all of us should be saved. But ultimately, the times that we have right now matter more than the times we wish to have later. Edson here mentioned that the Bible says the battle is not to the mighty. You know, the mighty guys, the big guys, the huge guys. Those are not the ones that will win the battle really. The race is not to those guys that are fast in running. No. The Bible says favor is not even, it doesn't even come up upon the men that have skill. But it doesn't really say to who it is. It just concludes and says, but time and chance happen to them all. Time. One day I was watching a football match between Nigeria and Sudan. And I remember that Nigeria won. And then Sudan, they were crying. And then a young brother of mine, he likes asking me questions. By the way, at home, my nephew calls me Pastor Olly Moonga, pastor of knowing everything. So he's given homework, he'll straight come to me and ask me, Uncle Olly, what is this? Sometimes even if I don't know it, I'll be forced to answer. So one day, they were given a very tough question to answer. They were told, she's in grade, should be 2. They were told to draw things that are found in the sitting room. Now, well, I'm not really good at drawing. So he brought the book, says, Uncle, help me draw this. And then I said, I don't know how to draw. And then he says, but you are pastor, you are pastor of knowing everything. Why can't you draw for me? And I felt sad and I just had to draw, even if it wasn't good, but just to make a point. Just to make a point. It is really critical and very vital that these conversations that we have around time, around leadership, entrepreneurship, in Nifunonkala Chani and all those things, take it as a fight. Take it as a fight. Young people, we are crying, there are no opportunities in Zambia. Whoa, I don't think that's true to Chipego. 29 and CEO. Zambia. You are in the same Zambia, so what do you mean there are no opportunities? No, the big guys are not retiring and all those things. It's not about that. You have to fight. Because I'll tell you that it's not the size of a dog in a fight that matters, but it is the size of the fight in a dog that matters. You may be young right now, but fight big battles. Don't settle for less. I was telling someone, say, look, if you are going to fail, make sure you fail big. Because I mean, there's honor in failing big. There's honor. It says, okay, so finish the video. Okay, that was tough. But I mean, how do you fail to do like very little things? Like fail to wake up and study. Really? Young people, we always complain and complain and complain. Dario emphasizes that the kind of future that we want will not just be handed over to us. We must create it. But in the creation of future is in the understanding of now. Martin Luther King, one of my inspirations, he says, everything revolves around understanding the fierce agency of now. You can't be patient with your life. You don't hold it. But moreover, there's someone who is even looking to destroy your life. And then you are, on the other hand, relaxing. I mean, you should be able... I was telling someone to say, you know, when you discover your purpose and you're pursuing your dream, you don't even have to pray to God for Him to protect you. Because your dream itself makes you essential. Everyone was born for something. But I can guarantee you that there are people that will still die without knowing what they were born for. And for such people, I don't call them they have died. I say they have been killed. Because if you die before you become what you were born to be, then you've just been killed. And for your own information, longevity is not a determinant of success. I know Christians will say, no, we are praying God that we should live for 120 years and all those things. That's not necessary. Methuselah, the oldest man that ever lived, he lived for 969 years old. Jesus lived for 33 years, 6 months. And we still talk about what he did. Because in 33 years and 6 months, when he died, he says, it is finished. I have done the course. Now I'm ready to go. Paul said the same thing. He said, I've run a good race. I've fought a good fight of faith. Now I'm ready to be poured out like a cup offering. Simeon said the same thing. He said, okay, I've seen the salvation of the Lord. Now I can go and rest. What about you? What can you say? I like to say this in a way that is quite scary, to say, if you are sick and you are in a coma in a hospital, and we were asked as brothers or sisters to say, we come to the word and pray for you. And then we ask God to preserve your life. What should we say He should preserve your life for? For what? Or should we say, I think, well, we might as well lose him. Because, well, he's not doing anything. You know, there are certain things that we don't take serious, but they really define life. The statements like, let he who not wake, not eat. I mean, we think that statements mean, you know, you have to, it's, you know, you are stingy if you don't keep, no. Even today, people everywhere, whether Christian or not, they have realized that just giving you a fish is a problem. We need to teach you how to fish. Yes. Now, you going to fish, that's work. And you have to know that even as you're doing certain things, there are certain moments that define life. This moment defines life. This moment is everything. Or at least it may not be everything to you, but at least on my part, don't think I'm just speaking here. Or maybe I've just come here to bore you with, you know, things that don't even add up and make sense. But look, if they're going to look for someone tomorrow to speak at a school and they'll pay them 1,000, whoa, I might as well refer that I had a conference meeting at Global Platform and people came, even if they didn't like it. I say people came. So I'm a speaker. And they say, oh, okay, they'll call Global Platform. Did people come? Yes, they came. Oh, okay, so let's engage this guy. And they give me a free 1,000. Yesterday was my very first day, or very first time rather, to be paid in dollars. Just for MC. Dollars. Oh, I'm a student at the University of Zambia, by the way. I live in Siavonga, but I stay in Lusaka. My mother didn't go to school really, only grade 4. My grandmother never went to school at all, not even to take me to school because I went to school alone. But I was yesterday paid in dollars for MC. And I wasn't paid because I speak, no. I was paid because I have been speaking. Get the difference? Yes. I started already. So when they were looking for someone, I said, no, we know that guy. Now is the surest time to predict the future. I am not a prophet, neither am I related to one. But I can guarantee you I can guarantee you that if I look at what you do, I can tell you that if you continue like this, you end up like this. I don't need to be a prophet. So certain things